Welcome everyone in podcast land. I'm David.
And I'm Jono.
And this is the podcast where nothing is prepared except what we've prepared. And this week we've got what's a reboot? What's a remake? Hot off the tail of the Dead Space remake / remaster. Why are we getting so many? Who's making them? Why are they making them? What makes them good? And we're going to kind of list some of the good ones, some of the bad ones, and, define some of these terms and have a good time doing it.
I think, that's really important. But also, I won't really want to address the whole business aspect of it. Because it's TV shows, they're rebooting everything.
Everything.
Movies, they're rebooting everything. Mm-hmm. Some are great. Some are bad. And, I'm not a person who I will watch and consume remade, rebooted, remastered TV and movie content. Mm-hmm. I have not really consumed that much in the video game realm. Except for just recently doing Last of Us Part 1.
Yep.
Until my demo ran out because I'm not
yeah, I did the same thing.
Yeah, I literally got up to parts 2 hours. I'm like, ugh.
God, it looks so good.
Yeah, it plays good. Everything, the quality of life has all been improved, but yeah.
Well, I think that's one of the more contentious ones. So I think we should start with some of the better received remakes. And I think neither of us have played Dead Space. I'm interested in playing it.
Yeah.
I could get an EA Play Pro subscription and you can get access to it. At least for a certain amount.
Really?
The pro one, so the one that's more expensive.
How much is that?
15 a month, I think.
So that's 15 Canadian.
Yes.
So that's what?
10,
12,
whatever.
I mean, that's not too bad.
Or, $100. And I have decided I like the franchise. I don't love the franchise. But it seems like the general consensus is that this is one of the best type of remakes.
Really?
So there's a lot of stuff that they've changed, but they've stayed very faithful. The story's kind of similar. The layout is mostly the same. Mm-hmm. The big changes is in the little things, like how they dole out the weapons, so you kind of get a different progression of power.
Yeah.
You get access to you can always backtrack, so you can go back to previous areas you've been to.
Oh.
And there's new areas to unlock based on security clearance or tools you have.
So it's like Zelda-ish.
So it's a little more, Metroidvania-y.
Yeah.
But it still has the same level progression, same levels, surprises where enemies are in different spots.
Interesting. Yeah.
But it seems to be, people loving it.
I mean, I'm kind of curious to play it, honestly. This is one that when you told me the other day, I was like, oh yeah, that game came out. And then everyone just started posting on Twitter and on YouTube. I'm interested in playing it because when I first played this, actually a bit of backstory is, in Vancouver here, for the listeners, is that there is a huge EA building in, let's just say Vancouver. Yeah. I think it's one of EA's first buildings here.
They do FIFA and shit.
They do, yeah, pretty much all the sports games, but also they run focus groups. So me being in my early 20s, there was this newsletter that would go out every week. Would you like to focus group these 5 games? Fill out this form if you do and select which one you get.
Yep.
And you don't get paid per se, but you get lunch, which is just Panago pizza or just
you probably get to take a game home from their store.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You get a free game. And how I kind of gamed it was I get to play some of these new games and then I get free pizza. And then the games I get, I just went to EB or GameStop and just got my credit.
Yeah. And it takes 2 hours, 3 hours?
About 2 or 3 hours.
Yeah. Okay.
But there was this game one time it came out was Dead Space, and I didn't know anything about it.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that's interesting. I'll just click on it. I read the synopsis. I'm like, oh, it's a horror game. And I'm not one who actually plays horror games. Mm-hmm. I just went, interesting. But here's the thing. Another reason why I did it, now I'm just remembering it, is that it was a 2-day test.
Oh, interesting.
So they wanted us to play the full game from start to finish. Maybe some levels were not done, but
pretty much the whole thing.
Yeah. So Dead Space was kind of an interesting game because when I played it, it wasn't super buggy. There was only one place that I fell through the ground and died. But I kind of had a special place in Dead Space because I got to play the entire game.
Yeah.
And funny enough, everyone on the first day I finished it.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. I just steamed my I watched all the cutscenes. Cutscenes were kind of broken, but you kind of get the gist of the story.
Yeah.
I finished it one day.
Yeah.
So I got my pizza for one day and I got 2 games at the end. Mm-hmm. So it was really great. And then after that, I had such a wonderful experience. Even though it was buggy, I when the game was finally released, I replayed that game.
Oh, nice.
So that's how much I love Dead Space. I like Dead Space 1, Dead Space 2, and I did not touch Dead Space 3.
The game which shall not be spoken.
Yeah, I was like, that did not exist.
Yeah, it's interesting watching that franchise go from being seen as, Resident Evil 4 in space to kind of becoming a cult hit to finding its legs and, being a pretty big hit with the second game, and then EA trying to monetize, pulling the ripcord and trying to really make it a mainstream thing and totally fucking it up.
It was, to me, like Dead Space 3 was like the game that kind of showed how bad EA is getting. Yeah. And like EA, when Dead Space 1 came out, it was like such an amazing IP from a studio, a publishing house that is just known to like pump out FIFA 1, 2, 3, blah, 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 exactly like over and over again. But it's like, they have other great IPs like Battlefront or Battlefield kind of. And now like this new thing, this was like 2008 though. Mm-hmm. So it was great. And then now it's crap, but now it's great again.
Yeah, EA is one of those companies that falters or alternates between being, the scum of the earth, the villain of the gaming industry, to supporting these studios in a way that other big companies aren't. Like Respawn Studio is fucking thriving under EA.
Kinda.
I mean, like the Jedi games, PAX is like one of the biggest games in history.
Fair. I'm just thinking like Titanfall, they kind of fucked that up.
I think yes, but I think the thing that I'm going to get flack for that I'm about to say that we get mad about when things get canceled or don't get sequels, they don't do that haphazardly. They do it because people didn't fucking buy it.
Fair.
And like, it's the same with like Netflix cancellations. People being so mad about these Netflix cancellations. I'm like, bro, they have access to the most detailed analytics in fucking history. Yeah. They are not making money because not enough people are watching it. I know that you're passionate.
Yeah.
And that's how I feel about Titanfall 2. I fucking love Titanfall 2. But we can't all be like, oh, EA ruined it. It's like yeah, they kind of did. They put it alongside a Battlefield game, but next to a Call of Duty game. They really didn't give it the breathing air that it could have had. Yeah. But in the end, people didn't buy it. That's why I didn't get a sequel.
I mean, I agree with you on that base of thinking, but also I heard something last night, which actually kind of made me remember something, was like, this might be all speculation, but the logic seems to me rings very true. So Google is like that one company that makes a lot of products. Mm-hmm. And sometimes they're amazing products and they live like Gmail. Gmail's like synonymous.
The biggest email platform.
Exactly. But now like those other like small little products that I can't name on top of my head.
They're different chat things that they keep switching between.
Exactly. Sometimes like they are successful. Like they make like that product themselves makes like $100 million. Yeah. And you and me, $100 million on
hugely successful.
Yeah. But because of how Google is, they make billions and billions of dollars on the core advertising products. $100 million is like, that's such a waste of time. Mm-hmm. And because of these people who they are paying to make these products outweighs, like they pay, that product makes $100 million per year, but making that team who makes that product is getting paid $150 to $200 million. Yeah. That is considered a loss.
100%.
Yeah. So that could be that behavior too.
Well, 100%. And I mean, I'm going to swing around from being a fucking corporate shill to being, the David.
How dare you be a corporate shill? That's my job.
I can recognize that, like you said, there's these things that are successful that actually do make money, but they're just in the grand scheme of things, they're not making enough money.
No.
And like Titanfall 2, hey, maybe it broke even, but that's not good enough for a company like EA. And maybe Respawn on its own would have continued it.
Yeah.
But I also feel like no one played Titanfall 2.
Yeah, I mean, no.
That's a game that needs a fucking remaster.
People play Titanfall 2. They bought it and played it. They played the single player. They didn't play too much of the multiplayer.
It's really a skill-based one. And it's so ahead of its time because now you watch
Apex.
Apex is huge, but a big thing that's happening in the Warzone and Call of Duty world is they're dying for mobility. And so they're like, Warzone 2 sucks because it's like, it's more grounded and slow. And then they're going back to, Advanced Warfare and all these things. And I'm like, just go back to Titanfall 2. Everyone needs just Titanfall 2. But we're way off topic.
Yeah. That's let's wing it. We're gonna go.
We're gonna wing. So let's talk about some of the best remakes that have ever existed. I'm gonna start with one that's more, probably kind of forgotten in the annals of time. as I say, the anals of time, which is
But-
Bionic Commando Rearmed. Did you ever play that back in the day?
I've played I think it was like, no, I think it was Sega, wasn't it?
The original one is Capcom.
Is it? No,
They're both Capcom.
but it was released on the Genesis.
There might be a Genesis one. The one I played is on the NES.
Yeah, because I remember seeing it as a kid. This is going to age me horribly.
Yeah.
But I remember seeing it available for rental at Blockbuster. And I don't know, for some reason, I always wanted to rent it, but I always ended up renting like Final Fantasy or Chrono Trigger or something like that. So I did play the demo of Rearmed. I don't know, like, is that a reboot or is it just like, no, it feels more like a reboot because it is a property that's updated in modern time.
Yeah, so it is definitely a reboot, which I think is also kind of a messy term. And I think that's something I want to talk about is how messy the term remake, remaster versus reboot, like they're all kind of have some crossover and there's not always specific metrics by which you can measure which one is which.
Yeah.
But when I looked up Bionic Commando Rearmed, it was considered a remake, which feels not right.
Doesn't make sense because that's like Bionic Commando was a 2D platformer.
Yeah.
With the whole aspect of the game is you're a guy. It's based off Contra with a slingshot, Zelda slingshot, and you're just killing a bunch of people. But the Rearm was a third-person 3D world.
Oh no, you're thinking of just Bionic Commando. Bionic Commando Rearmed is the 2D remake. So it's like a Xbox Live Arcade game. I think it eventually made its way to PS3.
Yeah.
And it plays like the original one where it's a grapple hook and it's
God.
but it's tighter, it's faster, it plays awesome. Honestly, no one cares that I'm talking about this except one person out there who's like, yeah, Bionic Commando Rearmed. And I just wanted to shout it out. But you're thinking, well, that's an interesting discussion.
Yeah.
I had forgotten about that.
Yeah.
Bionic Commando 2007, 2008,
Something
9,
like that, yeah.
where they tried and modernize and reinvent what Bionic Commando was. And like you said, it's like a third-person open world-ish grapple game. So they have the grapple arm. And apparently that game's not as bad as people say, but what it's most maligned for is that your arm is your deceased wife. What? Huge spoilers for a game. Sorry, everybody. That is the big twist in the game. Honestly, okay. You know what? I take it back. I am sorry if you were planning on playing Bionic Commando.
No, you're not.
Just kidding. You were not.
You are not.
But the big twist at the end is you find out your arm has the spirit of, or the brain of, or something of your deceased wife.
It's by the brain.
And it's supposed to be this amazing moment of like, oh, she's with me wherever I go, and it's like, no, it sucks.
Yeah.
But the platforming and level design, it was pretty fun. It suffers a lot from being, that mid 2000s very gray sort of aesthetic, like the brown and grays.
Yeah. And
But,
also, it's like, is it like the guy, wasn't he kind of like a bro a little bit?
Yeah, so they gave him like dread. So the original one is like a Duke Nukem looking motherfucker.
Yeah.
Whereas the Spencer, I can't remember, of the reboot he's got like big dreads, and he's kind of got like the tank top and stuff. He was very much designed in a focus group.
Yeah, because I think that game came out because of we're talking about the 2007 redoing the reboot.
Yes,
is I think they're trying to come back with Ninja Gaiden.
Oh yeah,
because that game came out and everyone was like, "This is the best," and this is me being like edgelord's gatekeeper, going, "I used to play Nintendo ones, and the 2D platformers were so much better." Then eventually, if I played it, I'm like, "Oh,
these are
good.
so good."
Yeah, this is so good. Granted, it got a little bit kind of annoying because it did the Japanese thing of these kind of games, is that they would go, it's like Japanese school. It'll grade you how well you did in the levels, and then it always made me feel bad. It's like, oh, you got a C-. It's like, fuck.
See, I kind of love that in that type of game. I want to be clear. The only really good of the modern Ninja Gaidens is Ninja Gaiden 1.
The first
2
one,
is pretty good. 3 sucks. But Ninja Gaiden Black, which was on the Xbox, is a fucking amazing game. It plays so well. It's so challenging. Honestly, I much prefer that fast pace of combat than the modern Soulsborne games.
Fair, yeah.
And I find it so thrilling. Same with like the Devil May Cry games. But like you said, Ninja Gaiden is such a reboot, such a reimagining of what that game could be, because it was just like a challenging side-scrolling platformer where you had like your one attack.
Yeah. But this one was just so cool. But I think just for me, I just want them to be like, options, turn off grading. Just like, let me enjoy the game. And then when I want to replay it, let me do that.
Well, it's challenging. I mean, one of the things I want to talk about is what is a good reboot. Let's start. We're kind of circling around reboots. What makes a reboot good? And like how faithful to the original do you have to be? How much new stuff do you have to bring? Let's think of like a good reboot example. I mean, Doom 2016, I think, is the perfect reboot.
That is probably, you are right. That is 100% the most iconic shooter in the world, and they actually pulled it off.
Somehow, yeah.
Yeah.
After totally flubbing it up with Doom 3.
I actually kind of like Doom 3.
I like Doom 3 too. It's not Doom.
No, it's like Resident Evil.
Yeah, and that game is so beholden to the technology that powers it, and you can see how thrilled they were with these like stencil shadows they had designed in this engine. They were like, look how scary it is. But that's not Doom. Doom 1 and 2, you move fast, you kill fast, and you fucking murder those demons.
It's a game where you can actually have bare knuckles and punching zombies in the face.
Yeah.
So Doom 2016, 2016 has everything. And then the sequel came out. And I don't know. I didn't play the sequel too much.
We'll leave Infinite out of it because it's neither. It's like a sequel. It's not part of this rebootness.
Yeah.
But what I think Doom 2016 does really well is that if you broke down gameplay feature for gameplay feature, it's almost, the same. It's like, okay, you have an assortment of guns, you move really fast, mobility is really important to getting around these monsters. Tons are going to spawn at you. There is exploration, but that's not a primary part. But the more you explore, the more secrets you find, the better weapons you're getting, the more access to this. They're adding modern features, like gun upgrades and stuff. Like that's not really part of the original. But when you break it down feature for feature, they're pretty similar, but through the modern lens, because gaming has kind of changed since the 90s.
Actually, well, speaking of that, another reboot, Tomb Raider.
Which one? Which reboot? I guess they weren't reboots on the PS2.
To me, I think like the most recent, like the Tomb.
Yeah, 2013.
Is it 2013?
That's the first, I think.
Holy, wait. Let me. I need to confirm that.
2017 is Shadow, and so I think it's 2013, 2015, 2017. I liked 2013. Okay. It was, I think that's one of those mid reboots to me. Or tell me why you like it.
I liked it because it just like made Lara Croft actually like, okay, when I experienced Tomb Raider growing up, I played the first one. I was confused the hell.
That's way too hard for a kid.
It's just, way too hard. And then that turned me off from all the other Tomb Raiders. I've seen like trailers and seen things. It's just like, there was apparently a storyline through all of them.
Yes.
And I was just like, I am not interested because I got turned off so hard on that game. When the quote unquote reboot came out 2013, it feels like it came out like 5 years ago, to be honest.
Well, that's 5 years ago. There's not even one that came out 5 years.
I know.
Most recent one is 6 years ago.
Is it 6 years?
That's a third of that series. Yeah. 2017. We still use it on Linus Tech Tips.
I know.
And I fucking hate it.
It's like,
I'm like, let's use a modern goddamn game.
Why?
It has a ton of features. We have a ton of history with benchmarks and stuff. It's hard moving from a new game because then you have to get all new data points. Whereas when you're using the same benchmarks, it's easy.
When I did Short Circuit, I knew exactly which games to install. I'm like, we're gonna get Doom. We're gonna get like this one. We're gonna get this one.
It's annoying because I mean, it's always going to be games that Linus wants to play that gets installed, and he just doesn't play that many games.
Yeah.
And it's frustrating because I'm like, bro, like, let's put this game, let's put this. Like, right now, I'd be like, oh, dude, put Miles Morales on there. It'd be fucking awesome. Yeah, it's an older game, but like, hey, it's brand new on the PC. It has all these brand new PC things, but he doesn't care.
It looks good. But anyways, it's like the Tomb Raider, it's just that the storyline was so good.
Yeah.
And it just showed the story of how, like, all these like little iconic things, they didn't really overly sexualized her that much.
Goodness,
Thank God. They made like The Last of Us kind of style gameplay, but a little bit more arcadey and shooty and weirder. But it just felt really intense.
I think it was hard for me to move past the clear, and this is kind of funny, the clear inspiration and clear aping of the Uncharted franchise.
Oh, 100%.
Because in 2013, Uncharted was peaking.
Yep.
And Uncharted 4 was just around the corner. But we'd had 1, 2, 3, and they were all well received. 3 maybe a little less so, but still was like an awesome fucking cinematic action adventure game. And what I think was their mistake, especially with the first one, was they're like, it's gonna be like Uncharted, but violent.
and Lara Croft.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh.
And so like I think it was a really good way to reimagine Tomb Raider. And it feels like authentic to that franchise. It doesn't feel like a stretch, but I found that first one, the violence so edgy.
Yeah,
she keeps she gets impaled, and she has to pull herself off.
If
of
you
it
actually look at the whole game, she gets fucked up.
Yeah, and that's not super fun.
Yeah, I think the beginning is amazing, and then it just progressively she keeps getting captured, and the things that you have to do to get out, which is just quick time events. But then it's like she gets impaled, she gets like a normal human being. I'm being like super realistic in a video game sense. She would have been like she would have like not have made it halfway through.
No, she would be dead on the first one. She would have gotten gangrene, and that would have been it.
Yeah, you got tetanus.
Yeah, I think that it's cool what they did, but it felt like kind of not soulless. That's not quite the right word, but visionless franchise that was kind of designed by feature. It was designed by we want to do this, do that. We'll do it. Not like we have this Tomb Raider story we gotta tell.
Because I'll be honest, like the first one. I'm just gonna call that one the first one.
Yep.
First one I played, really liked. Second one was like, you can see problems, and then those Jesus, that was weird.
Yeah.
And then the third one, I only got halfway. I was like, I'm done.
They didn't have confidence in what they were doing to stay unique, so they kind of just started pulling in stuff from other franchises. Like there's like the survival mechanics that kind of became more prominent as they went on.
Yeah. They basing off what I always found with the third one, they emphasized too much on the area combat or sneaky combat, or also known as, let's be like Arkham Knight, or Arkham Knight, Arkham Asylum. Like, there's ways to get around and do this level perfectly.
For sure. And I don't want to talk too long about this game, but I think that that's a good example of something that doesn't work, and that's having a vision. And I think that it's really important when you bring back a game that you understand and you are passionate about what made it work before, but you have a vision of how to make it work today. And I think a perfect example for me is Resident Evil 2.
Yeah, no, so, I can believe that, because I played Resident Evil 2 was my first one.
The best one?
Like back in the PlayStation.
Yeah, both the PS1 one and the new one. Those are the best two.
I haven't played the reboot. Well, like I said at the start, I haven't really played a lot of reboots.
Well, let me tell you.
Well, not reboots, remakes.
Yeah. So this is now, we're into remake territory. What makes a good remake? Well, everything that makes Resident Evil 2 good. It captures the essence of Resident Evil 2. You show up, the police precinct. It's slightly different, but it feels familiar. Like, it was weird having played the original a long time ago. I couldn't draw the schematic of the map, but it feels like it's the exact same. Like the entrance feels the same. There's little differences, but it somehow grounds it a little more. It's still a little silly in the way that it should be, but it's scary, it's intense, and they capture what it felt like to play it back then, today. And that's really hard, because you can copy the gameplay, you can copy the mechanics, you can copy this, but to capture the essence of what it was like in 1999, 2000, like, what's it called in biblical terms? Like exegesis, where you take something of its time and study it from that time in modern perspective. Yeah. And they modernize it. They do the Resident Evil 4 behind the over the shoulder camera angle. But it's still the loop that kind of goes and gets bigger. You have like the small path. You kind of open a door, it creates a bigger path, and you're looping back around on yourself. Yeah. Just like the classic Resident Evils, but it plays like a modern one. But they have all these beautiful technical features like dismemberment and like the way that the people fall apart.
Let me ask you this: is like, does it play like a new game, or does it just feel and look like Resident Evil 2?
So it plays like a new game, but it still feels like Resident Evil in the way that they couldn't quite figure out for a little while. So Resident Evil 4, that's like the prime example of how to modernize a franchise. So, a soft reboot. Yeah. They took a lot of the things that worked, but then they kind of threw out the stuff that was being dated. And one of the things they added was the over-the-shoulder camera, where when you pull up your gun, you're over the shoulder. You can see it's the third-person shooter, but before that, generally, your character was just centered, and like crosshair was kind of behind their head. Yeah, and you shot forward. But with that simple change of moving the camera over a little bit, it becomes more cinematic. Yeah, but also you can see more. And basically, every third-person shooter after that aped that camera placement. Yeah. and it changed it. But what made Resident Evil was that you could, when you pulled up your gun, you were stationary.
Yeah.
And that was a big thing for a long time, that people were like, well, no, make it like other shooters where when you pull up your gun, you can still move, maybe a little slower, do this. But they're like, no, Resident Evil, you have to be stationary. But in the remakes, you can still move. And so it was like a tight line that they played with where, you know, you can totally fuck it up and make it that it's not Resident Evil feeling, but they made it that it's slow enough, just good enough, but it doesn't feel restrictive. And I don't like design by restriction.
Yeah.
I don't like it when a designer is like, it's going to be scary because the controls suck. And I know a lot of people don't feel that way, but I feel like if the controls suck and that's what makes it hard, that's not great design.
Yeah, that's what reminds me. I'm kind of in agreement there, but also kind of not at the same time, because I remember playing not Resident. Like I played Resident Evil 2, I played Resident Evil 3, and then I kind of stopped after that. But one game that kind of makes me think of like bad controls makes it scary was the start of Silent Hill.
Yes, terrible controls.
Terrible controls.
I hate tech controls.
It's like really just god awful. But I remember how scary that first encounter when it was just a dream and you're just getting stabbed. Because I can't remember how old I was. I was like, like literally, like I was like bawling my eyes, going, oh, why am I dead? And it's like, and then I would turn it off because I thought, I'm like, oh, there's like I'm bad at this game.
Yeah.
And then that I think made me freak out more than just getting murdered.
Well, and I can concede that point to a certain degree where, you know, making things hard, there's a sense of progression too, where if it's hard at the beginning, it's like a whole new set of controls. By the end, when you figured it out, like there's like a reward that's built into that.
Exactly.
And I'm actually not a proponent of, you know, the homogenization of control schemes that we've had. There's pretty much every game now has the same fucking control scheme.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, okay, right trigger shoot, left trigger's aim.
Yeah.
You know, there's like a little bit of difference, but like X is going to be jump, circle is going to be duck or roll, square is going to be reload.
It depends on if it's the game from Japan or from North America.
Yeah, but like, you know, it's generally that. Like there's some action games that, you know, are shoulder based, there's some that are face button. But like we kind of are homogenizing controls, which is good because I know I can pick up a game and pretty quickly I'm going to get it. Yeah. But I also think that there's something fun to be said about, you know, the Metal Gear Solids of the world that had kind of a weird control scheme. Because
was it that bad?
It wasn't bad. It was just kind of weird where, you know, you have to like hold X to go prone and then you're like crawling. Or
I think Metal Gear Solid had like the most interesting menu system. You're like, oh, I had to go hold R2 to scroll through all my items, and L1 for the guns.
Yeah.
Whoa.
And it worked really well for the time.
Yeah.
And it's funny watching that series progress because, you know, 1 was the most strong taste of that weird, unique scheme.
Yeah.
And then 2 as well. But by 3, when Substance. Yeah. No, Substance is 2, I think. Because there's Substance and then there's Subsistence. It doesn't matter. When the special version of 3 came out, where it was now a third-person shooter instead of like a top-down.
Actually, wait. Here's one thing. Metal Gear Solid. That's not a remastered, of course. There's those 3 games before it. No.
So I mean, it's any of those big franchises is messy because they've remastered a bunch, but there's the remake, which I think you're eager to talk about.
No, not that. Okay. I'm talking about Metal Gear Solid. That's a reboot.
Yes,
technically,
you're right. Metal Gear Solid is a reboot of the Metal Gear franchise.
So technically,
of the
for
80s.
me, I would go just because I'm in love with Hideo Kojima.
Yeah.
I hate Konami now, but at the time, like Konami, you the shit.
Yeah, they had some good franchises.
Yeah, but now they just make gambling games.
Hey, they're trying to make a comeback.
Fuck you, no.
So
fuck you. You got rid of Hideo Kojima.
Yeah, they figured it out. They lost the soul. But I mean, I will take a Symphony of the Night HD2D remaster. That's what I would fucking kill for.
Of course you would. But no, I think Metal Gear Solid would be the most famous, at least in my mind, the best reboot ever.
You're absolutely right. I don't even consider it a reboot because that's such a strong spirit to itself.
Because they brought back Solid Snake, you know, they did everything, and then it just ignited this whole mega huge franchise. And now Hideo Kojima is like king of cinematic storytelling.
Well, and it's a great example of what works in a reboot, which is taking, you know, the features of like if you break it down into a list and then modernize those things in a modern game, it fucking works. Like the original Metal Gear Solid games, feature-wise are pretty similar to the Metal Gear Solid.
Yeah.
And then they changed and they're different and the stories are fucking wacko.
Yeah.
But I love it.
It's so good.
Yeah, and I mean, we can talk briefly about Metal Gear Solid because
Yeah.
I have a feeling that people listening probably care a little bit more about Metal Gear Solid than Bionic Commando, and we talked about that.
I just, because like we're just talking about it, and I was like,
Yeah,
because I'm like in my head, I'm like, what's a really big reboot?
that's
And
the
I'm
best
like,
one.
Yeah, those other good ones I will mention later in
Yeah.
the later podcast, but like Metal Gear Solid, I think that was just, to me, that was like the Quentin Tarantino moment in the video game.
Yeah. Do you think, I agree. I think it was a huge moment for games as an art in terms of finally having the technology to emulate movies effectively. And like, there's a lot of stuff that has come a long way since then that, you know,
Yeah.
when you compare The Last of Us 2 cinematics to the Metal Gear Solid 1
Yes.
cinematics or something like that.
Yeah.
But it felt for me like the first time I was like, oh, video games are like movies.
Yes.
And that was a huge technological breakthrough. Same with like Final Fantasy VII, where it's
Yeah.
just like, oh, these cutscenes are cool. And like, I would watch a whole movie of this.
Yeah.
But sticking on Metal Gear Solid, I find that franchise absolutely fascinating because it's like a time capsule for each era that the game came out in. And yet it's so weird and unique for its time.
Mhm.
But watching it modernized probably the most with 5, where
Yeah.
like those controls are mostly, you know, the homogenized shooter controls.
That's what. Yeah, that's Phantom Pain.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was thinking about playing Ground Zeroes again. That's like the prequel.
I mean, you
Where
can
it's
just
the
play
military
Phantom
base.
Pain and like,
Yeah, fuck that game.
Really?
Fucking can't stand thinking about that game.
Why?
It's the most disappointing game in history.
No, I liked it because I had base building aspects.
I like the base building aspects,
Yeah.
but I'd done that in Peace Walker and Portable Ops and stuff.
Yeah.
But it's okay. If I take off my personal thing, I can appreciate it's the best controlling Metal Gear Solid, maybe one of the best open world stealth games that's ever been. But it's unfinished, and they've put the front load the good stuff in. Well, they front load the good stuff.
Yeah.
And then the second half of the game is totally incomplete and unsatisfying.
Yeah,
And-
it's weird.
And
It's-
like they, at one point, if you haven't played it, minor spoilers, they start repeating missions, and they're just like, you know,
Yeah.
mission with a modifier, and you just have to go through a bunch of these to get what you need.
Yeah.
And the story kind of just stops.
No, it 100% does. Because like if you love that game as it currently is, you're high. Like I don't understand what makes it good. Because I remember playing it. I'm like, wow, this is really good. And it just fucking ends.
Yeah.
And you're like, what's going
What?
on? And then I go look it up. I'm like, how does like explain this? Like, oh, everyone's like, no, watch this video. Watch this video. And you watch it. You're like, what the
Yeah,
fuck?
there's a whole deleted. If you don't know, there's a whole deleted third act where
Yeah.
basically they go to the Child Soldier Island, and there's
Yeah.
like they have a Metal Gear, and
Yeah.
it's like a whole new area, and that would have been so satisfying because I liked the open world in terms of level design when you're in each base, but I also found it pretty empty in between. Like, yeah, you
100%.
take like the horses and you
Yeah.
go in between, and that's fine, but it's not really a good open world in the sense of like I just want to go and like touch everything and
Yeah.
experience everything. It's like I'm going from here to there, and everything in between is nothing.
I think it's the same problem that what you had with Elden Ring. Like it just felt like, I think this is the problem I have with Japanese open world games.
Mhm.
It just feels like they just go off a checklist. Like, what do Americans do? They do this,
Mhm.
this, and then you don't really think about how to mesh that together that well.
Yeah, it feels like
Yeah.
they design the encounters and the levels within it, and then they kind of just like loosely connect it. It's
Yeah.
not like it doesn't feel like there's a life to the world. It feels like they're designed intentionally like video game levels.
Yeah, it's like almost like the Ubisoft approach of open world.
Yeah.
But back like Metal Gear Solid,
Metal Gear Solid.
I think best remake ever. We can talk about. Oh no,
But
reboot
then
ever.
Reboot. And then let's talk about arguably one of the worst good remakes ever. Which is Metal Gear Solid The Twin Snakes, which is the GameCube remake slash reimagining of Metal Gear Solid.
So okay, a full disclaimer. I know all about this game.
Mhm.
I've never played it.
Oh, it's awesome.
Is it awesome?
So I'm going to give you guys like the short story version of why the game sucks. So it is a complete reboot or remake of the original on a GameCube. So it's a generation later. It looks fucking awesome. It looks way better.
Actually, wait. Though is it remake or is it an adaptation to like a console? Plus, they're like, hey, since we have this,
It's a ground up remake. So it's like everything is made
Really?
new. And then
Oh,
they
okay.
changed the story slightly, little bits. I think they re-recorded all the dialogue, if not most of it. But the big thing that changes, because the level design is mostly the same, is they give you the ability to see in first person. It
Yeah.
doesn't sound like a big thing, because like Metal Gear Solid 2, you could aim down the sights and see in first person, but Metal Gear Solid 1 wasn't designed for that. So all of a sudden you could just like bypass entire areas because you could just like stand there, shoot everybody, and then move through the next area.
Yeah.
So this new modern feature, there's something else. So you could climb up railings. Like there was a more verticality.
They did it like they did probably did Sons of Liberty things.
It's exactly that.
Yeah.
All the mechanics of Sons of Liberty are transplanted in, which is nice, but the level design isn't changed enough, or that's not taken into contemplation. And so then you can just beat the game in one sitting because you basically bypass all the encounters.
Yeah, I remember the first person stuff. Like I'm just going by memory. It's a long time ago for me, but I just remember like there was like the cutscenes were kind of goofy.
Yeah, they missed the tone a little bit.
Yeah, it's like you see like Liquid Snake doing basically they literally took, if you're not familiar with John Woo, like his level action, which is great. I love John Woo movies, except for Mission Impossible 2. But
hey, shut up. I love Mission Impossible 2.
But it felt so cartoony.
Yeah.
It just like it took me out. Like, yes, Metal Gear, the franchise,
It's
the bosses
cartoony.
are very cartoony.
Yeah.
But you kind of like, I'm fine with it.
This one straddles the line.
Yeah, this one went too far.
Yeah, no, that's fair. That's fair. I really appreciate the game, and I think gameplay wise, like I can't make an apology for the goofiness of the cutscenes and stuff.
Yeah.
But I think gameplay wise, I just don't use those features. And I think that's the way to do it. If you want to play Metal Gear Solid, Twin Snakes is not a bad way to do it if you're willing to hold back yourself. And it's the same with like a lot of gamers.
Yeah.
I like games that have good accessibility features that are just like, like almost God mode or like auto aim. Because like sometimes I just want to play through a story and I don't really want to think about it.
Yeah.
And I like, if I'm having trouble, just turning one of those on and being like, I'm going to beat this boss in fucking one sitting. I don't care.
Yeah. Because it's Metal Gear Solid. Well, honestly, Metal Gear Solid is like one of those games where, I've memorized everything.
Yeah.
Like if you gave me a PlayStation and go, John, I'll play Metal Gear Solid, I'm like, okay. Like I can literally beat that.
So
like
good.
I can beat it on hard, very hard. No one's seeing me.
Nice.
And then I can unlock the James Bond suit.
My favorite way to play stealth games is Ghost. I think like killing everyone is not fun. I think never being seen is by far the most thrilling. Like
it's never being seen. No kill unless you had like
unless you have to. Like there's some people,
like the bosses.
They're just in the way.
And just like you just knock everyone out and you just unlock the James Bond suit. And then you play it again and you're like, I'm the best.
Yeah. I don't if I can, I don't even like knocking out. I just like timing my
Really?
thing. That's like when I've mastered a stealth game, I know I can do that.
Yeah.
But not what the topic of the show is, but let's rank the Metal Gear Solid games. just the mainline ones. So 1 through 5.
Okay, we're not gonna do Nintendo.
So start at the bottom. What's the worst one? 4. I used to think 4 was my favorite, but I think it might be my least favorite. No, 5.
I would, of all of them, 5 is pretty bad.
It's got a lot of great gameplay, but the story is so underdeveloped.
Just because of like what they did with Hideo Kojima and just like my personal feelings to it. And there was like really good elements of the game.
Yeah.
Love it. I just wish he just like I know Hideo Kojima is notorious with delays.
Yeah.
But I think that game needed 2 more years.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
But Konami at that point was trying to get out of making real games.
Yeah, fuck those guys. But
they fucking ruined it.
5 is worse.
Yeah.
4.
I like 4, but that's another game you can see, not to the same degree. You can see Konami being like, finish the fucking game. Because the last 2/3 of the game, it's all cutscenes. Not because I don't think he wanted to have more gameplay, but because designing those gameplays and implementing that would have taken too much time.
Actually, wait, I want to change that. Yeah, like, no, I do 100% agree.
Yeah.
But I think 4 had so many good story elements. I want to go 5. I want to go 2.
Oh, we're going to fight.
Really?
I love 2. I think
it just, to me, that one got a little bit too goofy.
I think yes, but okay. 2 is the height and the lowest the franchise gets for me.
Yeah.
It's the Raiden and Rose stuff is so fucking obnoxious.
Well, I have no problems with playing, like, I have zero problems with Raiden. Like, I liked him as a character. He's not bad.
He's okay.
I think I just didn't like the bait and switch going, oh, you're playing with Solid Snake, everything looks good on PS2. It's amazing. And then here's Raiden. And you're like,
when I went into the game, I knew about that, so it wasn't a huge disappointment.
I didn't know. I was like,
I think it's like, I get why people are disappointed, but I also think it's one of the most badass things that I crave more in movies and video games, where they totally flip the table. They flip the script on you, and you're expecting something, and they just surprise you.
Yeah.
Now every trailer shows you the entire fucking movie. Every demo, they do these gameplay demos that explain the entire premise in the world, and we don't get these huge reversals and subversions that are so cool.
Yeah.
And Snake's way cooler than Raiden.
Yeah.
In the second one, Metal Gear Solid 4, we can talk about that.
Yeah.
But I think I love 1 and 2, and I like that top-down perspective.
Yeah.
And I think that the series lost something when it went to regular third person. It just became a different thing.
Yeah.
And so 2 is like the mechanics of 1 perfected with like a little bit extra.
The,
and I think
the gameplay is great. The gameplay is great.
But the story, I like the bomb guy and the rollerblades. Vamp's awesome. I think
Vamp is literally the best Metal Gear villain.
He's so sick
in the world, because you're like, oh man, fuck that guy, but you're so cool at the same time.
No, okay, we have to make a combined list. We can't each do our own.
Okay,
so we agree 5 is the bottom.
Yeah.
I
know you want to say, okay, let me argue why 4 is not the bottom. To me, it's like 5, 2, 4.
Okay.
So the reason why 4 to me is just like, because I played Metal Gear back when it was like 1 and 2.
Yeah.
Like
I got in a couple years after 2.
Yeah. So like that scene of like him going through the microwave room, and I was like, no, Snake! Like I literally, the Jill was trying to talk. I was like, shut up, bitch! And I was like, let me just do this. I was like, seeing every like his suits exploding, dude.
I didn't process that it was suit. I thought it was like his muscles fucking cooking or something.
I mean, to be fair, it
looks like a muscle.
It does look like it. Yeah. And I literally, I had like tears out of it. I'm like, you can do it. This is your last mission. Like,
you know what? You're right. That moment is fucking amazing.
Yeah. It's like, Circle, come on, I'm pushing so fast.
Okay. You convinced me that 4 isn't as bad as I was saying.
Yeah.
Here's my controversial opinion.
Yeah.
I don't think 3 is as good as anyone says.
3 is good.
Yeah, it's good. Well, and Subsistence, whatever the special edition is, we're rating them on the best version of each game. Yeah. It's really good.
Yeah.
But it doesn't hit the same for me. I don't like Naked Snake stories as much as the Solid Snake ones.
Yeah.
And I felt like the wilderness stuff is kind of cool, but it just felt clunky to me. And changing your camo manually was fucking annoying.
Oh no, 100%. Like I liked it for a lot of the same aspects, but I didn't think it was like groundbreaking.
Well, and I think if you made, IGN made a list of what's the best Metal Gear Solid, 3 probably pops up as number 1 for most, because that's like, they revolutionized it, they changed this. But I feel like it lost part of the spirit of Metal Gear Solid.
No, yeah, it felt like I was playing James Bond in the jungle.
Yeah, and I like it a lot. Like, I think my favorite moment in 3, spoilers for this whole franchise, sorry guys if you've never played it, spoiler for 3 is when you're facing off against the end. I can't know, the guy who's like the psychic. And the boss fight is him kind of floating. You're walking through this swamp. Yeah. And it's every enemy you've killed in the game coming at you. So if you killed no one, no one comes at you. And it's just you and the boss.
When I was playing, I didn't understand what was going, because like only like a couple animals were there. And I just went like, oh, that's weird. Yeah. And it just kept like, that was it. Yeah. And then everyone told me that. Yeah. I was like, oh.
Yeah, like, to me, that's a brilliant video game moment. That's the kind of the storytelling that only a video game can do. It. You need involvement of the player to do that. Yeah. And it's such a fucking cool moment where you're like, oh, wow, I have to reckon with the violence I've bestowed upon this world. And I think that's a fucking phenomenal moment. Same with like the sniper fight where you can win by just jumping the time ahead on your PS2 and just killing him because he dies of old age. It's fucking hilarious.
Yeah, I think every Metal Gear has like a game-breaking thing about that. Like Metal Gear 1, the only way you can beat Psycho Mantis is going from port 1 to port 2 on the controller.
What a fucking brilliant thing, because he basically what's happening is Psycho Mantis is reading your mind. And so no matter what you do, he's reading your mind as a player and one step ahead of you. Yeah. And you're like, I can't beat him. And it takes a while. And then like Jono says, you have to plug into controller port 2. Yeah. So that he can't read your mind.
Yeah. And also I think it has like one of the most famous anti-piracy tricks in the game. Oh. Is for this Metal Gear Solid 1 is that like it was a very big problem is to look on the back of the game box to get the codex. But here's the problem. Here's the motherfucking problem. I'm still pissed off this day. I rented that game.
Oh, that's bullshit.
Yeah, so I had no idea what's going on. Look in the back of the box, and I was like, the rental box, which is just Blockbuster.
Yeah.
I'm like, uh-oh. And then I remember I had, thank God I had dial-up internet.
Oh, yeah, you
and I
can
went
look
to
it up.
just GameFAQs.com.
It's funny. I had the same issue when I bought the game in the collector's edition. So the PS2 era one, where it's Metal Gear 1, 2, and 3 in one box, but each one has its own thing.
Yeah.
Because the codex entry. So basically what John was saying is that in the game, you sometimes have to put manual radio signals in. So you put in a number.
I think I still remember it. 135.11.
Yes. And so basically you have to contact someone in the game, but you don't know their codec. And the Meryl's like, look on the back of the box. And you're like,
no, it was
Colonel?
It was the Colonel.
Colonel's like, look on the back of the box, Snake. And you're like, what the fuck are you talking about? And literally on the back of the PS1 Jewel box, in the Jewel case, there's a little screenshot that has a codex number, and you have to put that number in the game. And it's such a great meta moment.
Yeah.
But yeah, like you said, if you have the rental box, no good.
Yeah.
On the collection box, the box for the one is just white on the back. The sleeve for the whole thing has that same screenshot.
Okay.
But it took me a long fucking time to be like, where the fuck is it? And I've ended up looking it up.
So I think for me, I'm going to go 5. Going back to the list that we were trying to do, because I think we could talk like hours.
I love Metal Gear Solid.
5, 2, 4, 3, and 1.
I'm going 5, 3, 4, 2, 1. I think we can agree 5 is the worst.
Yeah.
1
is the best.
And like, we know that's not in 2023 standards, but for its time, 1 is by far the best, the coolest, the most awesome.
I think because now I'm just thinking too is my favorite part of 1, because those 2 different endings you can get. 1, spoiler. It's not even spoiler. Like, if you haven't played 1, holy crap. It's like, I think it was Meryl could survive, or what was the nerd's name? Otacon, yeah. I think this is the most funniest thing is watching Snake and Otacon on the snowmobile.
Oh, yeah.
It's the most funniest thing.
If she dies, you get Otacon.
Yeah, granted, canon is Meryl lives. So that's fine.
I like, too, that they reveal his name at the end, and it's David, because, like, the voice actor's David Hayter.
What's your name?
David. I love it. But let's move from the best Konami franchise to the other best Konami franchise, which is Castlevania. Yeah. And they've done a couple of remakes.
When have they not remade?
So they remaster and constantly. And I mean, they did the Netflix show, and the only thing they fucking managed to put out was a bunch of re-releases of older games. So like, you can buy Anniversary, Game Boy Advance Collection, and Requiem. Requiem's the one, if you have a PlayStation, Requiem is worth every penny. It includes Rondo of Blood and Symphony of the Night, which are, in my opinion, the best 2D Castlevania, or like the best Classicvania and the best Metroidvania.
Is it on PlayStation Plus?
It's not on PlayStation Plus, but it's only on PlayStation, that collection. So you can get Symphony of the Night elsewhere, but you can't get Requiem, which is a really cool.
Come on, Konami, just make you'll make it at least easy.
Yeah, the other place you can get it is on the PSP. So the Dracula X Chronicles is the remake of Rondo of Blood. Yeah. So it's like it's the worst. It's that era where they would make 2.5D versions of old games. So they did that with Mega Man. They did that with Ghosts and Goblins, and they did it with Castlevania, where it's these ugly, ugly fucking polygon-based versions of these games.
Did they do the Mega Man Legends kind of thing? Like made everything blocky and shit?
Sort of. So there's Mega Man... Maverick Hunter is Mega Man X, but it's like a polygon-based one, and it just looks like shit, and it plays bad. Because like sprites and polygons, they have like a... I couldn't tell you the game design thing, but I think like it's a physics-based versus an animation-based physics system, and I hated those. But Castlevania Dracula X Chronicles, which that's the PSP one, thankfully has the remake, but it also has the original Round of Blood and Symphony of the Night as secret things. But I don't want to talk about those. I want to talk about Dracula X on the Super Nintendo, which was a remake of Rondo of Blood.
Okay, for full disclosure, that's for the viewers out there. I'm not gonna say too much because I think played a little bit of one, and it's not like I don't like the game. Don't get it never came up to play these games for me growing up. I think the only reason why I played one at least constantly, at least for the first couple levels, it's just when I was a kid, the dental office had a Nintendo.
Yeah.
And that was one of the games that was just there, and it looked the coolest.
Yeah.
So,
I won't talk too much about it because I know Castlevania is a niche thing. The people that love it.
I mean, it's a niche, but I think it's getting more consumption.
Yes.
Because of the Netflix.
Yes. And if you are someone who is ever considered playing a Castlevania game, I'm telling you, Requiem. Start. I think Symphony of the Night's the easiest onboarding sequences. The DS ones are maybe better, but I think the pureness and the lushness of Symphony of the Night makes it like by far my favorite Castlevania experience.
All I really know is that it's a really cool game. You get a really sweet whip or other weapons, and has pretty much one of them, like out of franchises, it's like a top 5 and probably bangers on soundtrack.
Oh yeah, God, fucking Very Bloody Tears, buddy.
Yeah,
but they've done a few different things. So we already talked about Dracula X Chronicles on the PSP, but they're actually, when they took Rondo of Blood, which was a PC Engine / TurboGrafx game. Well, actually, no, it was just PC Engine. It was released only in Japan. Over to the Super Nintendo, which was a much more successful console. You know, you have to. It's more powerful graphics wise, but it's doesn't have a CD player, so the music they have to downgrade it. So and there's no capacity. So what they did is they took all the assets, all the sprites, all that stuff, and just made an entirely new game. It's kind of like vaguely the same levels of this thing. Yeah. And they fucked it up. It sucks. It's one of the worst. It's one of the most maligned games. It's very rare. Like if you can get a boxed copy, it's like $1,500.
Really?
Yeah. And I enjoy it. It has the worst Dracula fight at the end. So basically, all the classic Castlevanias, you fight Castlevania, or you fight Dracula.
Yeah.
And usually it's in his castle. You know, he appears and he launches fires at you, and you jump over, hit him.
Yeah.
This one kind of does that, but it's on top of little platforms, and there's spaces in between. And Castlevania is known that when you take a hit, you get knocked back. And so basically any hit, you get knocked back. If you're lucky, you get to land on another platform, but generally one hit, you fall in a fucking hole.
So it's like almost like Jump King, but like with them.
Yeah, and it's utter bullshit. They lost the music, which was a big thing. It's not nearly as good. It looks fine, but it's still the sprites from a weaker system, and they totally fucked it up. Yeah. And they've done it before. Konami really needs to figure it out. So the original Castlevania on the NES was remade for the X6800. Which is like PC mostly sold in Japan. And then they remade that on the PS1, which is Castlevania Chronicles. And that is the worst fucking game in the fucking history of the world. I'm going to make enemies saying this. It is the most unpleasant challenge I've ever played because it's random. So it's not like you can memorize exactly where it is. There's like RNG stuff where they'll be different. The bosses will do different like placements of attack. And so you just have to kind of get lucky. And it's so unfair. It's so bullshit.
Yeah.
I broke a controller playing that game. I've never fucking broken a controller.
You streamed it, I think.
I streamed it. And I fucking hated that game. Every minute. Even games that are really hard that I'm not good at. I can still find something to enjoy.
You should do a charity stream.
Oh, God, kill me.
I would do a charity stream with you on that.
No, I don't want to do it. I hate Castlevania Chronicles. And so it's interesting that, to me, the Castlevania franchise, the reason I wanted to talk about it is that it's a whole history of these remasters, these remakes, these reboots, and like they just keep doing the same thing.
Yeah.
And Konami's so guilty of, you know, the Nintendo thing of doing the same franchises over and over and struggling to figure out how they fit into the modern gaming landscape.
I mean, maybe that's why like they're out and they make slot machines.
Maybe. And I think that it's, you know, it's easier to make a Metal Gear Solid slot machine than it is to make a good Metal Gear Solid.
Is there a Metal Gear Solid slot
I'm
machine?
sure there is. Let's look it up.
Oh my
Metal
God.
Gear Solid Pachinko. Metal Gear Solid Pachinko.
No, it's definitely a Pachinko. 100%.
Okay.
But Metal Gear slot machine, America. That's what I just putting America on there.
There might not be a slot machine.
There was definitely Pachinko because those fucking Pachinko games for everything.
Yes.
Like there was a hentai one. I walked by. I'm like, is that boobs? I was like,
nice.
I was like, nice. But yeah, no. One kind of reboot I kind of just wanted to briefly just mention that I really loved. Wolfenstein, the new order. Is just like an amazing way to keep heart of the gameplay because you're just shooting Nazis in a really fast-paced way. Or you could take the stealthy approach if you want to. There's no penalty. It's a fun game. Granted, I think that if you went to the shooting route, it's a little bit more difficult.
You can make it hard,
Yeah, but it's fine. And I think to me, the reason why I like that is because they added the thing that, well, at the time of when the game first released, there was really no story. You're just in Castle Wolfenstein.
Yeah,
try to
kill Nazis. Yeah.
Kill Nazis. This one was just like, oh, let's bring him into the 60s at the time warp. Nazis won.
Yeah.
And find out how they won and how you're going to take them down.
Yeah.
Are you successful? Who knows?
Yeah, I think that's a really cool one to talk about because most of the reboots we've talked about mostly maintain the feature parity with their predecessors, but that's like a very different game than any of the Wolfensteins, because there is Castle Wolfenstein in the 80s, which is a stealth 2D game, kind of like Metal Gear Solid.
Was it?
Yeah, and then there's
don't
Wolfenstein
remember that.
3D, which is, the granddaddy of first-person shooters. It's not the first-person game, but it's like,
Fun
the
fact,
granddaddy.
that was my first PC game experience.
So I have a similar to you. It's my mom was so proud of this story, and she told it so much when I was young, where we had it for DOS.
Yeah.
And to use a thing on DOS, you have to type in wolf.exe. And so I was 3 or something, and I watched my dad do it, and I was she walked down me playing Wolfenstein as a 3-year-old, and she's like, what the fuck? And apparently I had figured out how to type in
all the commands like cd slash, you get the thing, C, and then you got to go Wolfenstein, run wolf.exe, wolf3d.exe, and then you also like you had to run it off a floppy or the 2.5-inch floppies. It's a mess. Like my computer that my dad got barely ran it, but we played that game together.
It's so funny to think, how performance didn't matter back then. You get like 5 frames a second, you'd be like, oh, okay,
I mean, whoa, those doors move. It's 3D.
Yeah. Wow, I'm moving towards things.
What's that? What am I eating? My sister was the one who told me that, oh, the food that you're eating on the ground in prison, that's dog food. I'm like, oh.
But I think you did a good job bringing up the reboot. It's very different from both the first and the second, but somehow it captures something that works.
Yeah. Because like everyone hates Nazis.
Yes.
What's up?
Yeah.
But but I mean, the story is beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
It's very haunting. It's very underdogs, which everyone loves. And then also it's really traumatic because you see this man, BJ just kind of like, but just like trying to like struggle and cope that he missed out on the war. He could have contributed and helped them win, but also now trying to adjust in a world that is run by Nazis.
Yes.
And especially not just Europe or anything, America that's run by Nazis.
Yeah. The whole world.
Yeah.
Yeah, I liked the game. I don't love it as much as Doom 2016. I think there's a purity to Doom 2016 that I just love.
No, it's 100% pure.
There's a bunch of the story with Wolfenstein that I like, but I don't love. Like the romance and stuff is
the
like,
romance.
It's kind of like, meh.
Okay, here's the problem I had with the romance in the story was that like BJ is in a kind of coma state part, and his nurse falls in love with him, and he barely moves. So it's kind of weird and kind of fucked up at the same time. But it's just like, you know what? The world's kind of fucked up anyways.
And it's sort of campy in a good way.
But anyways, if you haven't played the New Order, play it. The second one's not bad. Third one.
Youngblood. Fuck Youngblood.
I tried to play that.
Man, that's circling back to Dead Space.
Yeah.
When developers or, publishers try and revitalize a franchise by making it co-op centered.
Yes.
It doesn't work. It doesn't fucking work.
No.
So stop it. I like co-op games, but build your co-op game from the ground up. Don't try and...
Yeah, actually, speaking of co-op games, there's one thing I'm just going to go on a weird tangent. You ever remember the EA game Tangent of Two? Not Tangent. Army of Two.
Yes.
Yeah, it's the most like bro shooter game. But it's cool.
Well, it's fun to it's fun to play a co-op game with your friend.
Yeah.
It is always a good time. Even if it's a shitty game, it's a good time, and Army of Two knew that.
Yeah, Army 2 knew that. So it was really good. Actually, speaking of EA, here's a really interesting reboot, or not sure reboot, maybe just like evolution. Mm-hmm. It's really hard to define this one. Rainbow Six Vegas.
Yes. Okay, this is an interesting franchise. Who knows where the future is.
Yeah.
So if you guys don't know, Rainbow Six is based off the book. It's Rainbow Six by Tom Clancy, which they're now making into a movie, which will be interesting.
I think that's gonna be an easy movie. I think
it'll be fine. Yeah, it's gonna be Jordan B. Hall. What's his name?
Michael B. Jordan.
I'm sorry, everybody. Jordan Hall was that. Anyways, He's John Clark, I believe, is the character, and he's already been introduced in another Tom Clancy franchise.
Yeah.
And he's gonna recruit people. There's gonna be terrorists, and they're gonna take them down, and it's gonna be.
I mean, that's like any Michael Bay movie.
It'll be fine.
But it'll be cool.
But Rainbow Six was, PC centered tactical shooter, very slow, very methodical. One bullet takes you down.
Yeah.
You have a persistent team. If they die, they're dead.
Yeah.
And you have to recruit new people. And then that kind of the era of tactical shooters sort of was coming to an end.
Yeah.
And they had to reinvent, and they did very interestingly with the hybrid first and third person shooter.
Yeah.
Rainbow Six Vegas.
Yeah. I think that came out in like 2005, 2006.
Yeah, I think it was early 360 days before the PS3 was out.
And man, it was such a cool time for video games. It's like you could do like the original Rainbow Six Rogue Spear.
Yep.
Yeah, those were just like super ultra realistic, but also limited by the tech.
Yeah,
and you just can't do anything cool.
No, and I think that there's a market for something as hardcore as that, but the tech makes it that it's pretty unplayable today. Like your strafing is so slow, and it just feels very limiting by the worst parts of it.
Exactly.
But yeah, back to Vegas.
But Vegas is just based enough. It's like they took a little bit still of the tactical approach. Like you can do
definitely a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah. You can do like grappling. Oh, not grappling. You can do rappel outside the buildings. You can set up shooting positions.
Well, and you still command your teammates.
Yeah. You still command your teammates. You can design shooting points and everything.
Yep.
But they kind of learn from watching Call of Duty going, hey, we should kind of make it a little bit faster because honestly, not speaking from experience, but just speaking to people, combat is fast and it's all about movement and just being positioning.
Well, it's definitely positioning. It's actually like weirdly enough, it's pre Modern Warfare.
Is it pre Modern Warfare?
So Modern Warfare is 2007. So this is like a predecessor, and it was a huge deal. If you weren't around, that was a huge deal in multiplayer games with Rainbow Six Vegas. And it was maligned by the hardcore because it was the simplification. You went from having 2 fire teams to 1.
Yeah.
You went from being able to like give them specific way like pass and lining them up on doors to being like basically reduced to go, hold, and like breach.
Yeah.
But it was the refining of the feelings that Rainbow Six gave you into something special, and it was fun. It was cover based because that was the thing of the era, and basically it was first person until you went into cover and it became a third person shooter. But when you played on the hardcore mode, 2 bullets kills you.
It just felt like a good time because the flow was there.
It had mad flow, and it was super fun. Being in Vegas was really cool. Like you start in Mexico, and then the first level that you're in Vegas, it's like it was spectacular.
Man,
it was so cool.
Just speaking about it, I kind of want to play it again.
It doesn't hold up super well. I tried playing it pretty recently, like last year.
Really,
it's still good.
Yeah,
and the terrorist hunt, I think it's still you can still make servers on PC, and it's fun. Yeah, and it's cool. It's a little bit weird, first person to third person. Like there's not many games that really do that.
Yeah.
Outside of like racing games where you can change, behind the car and then first person.
I mean, I just remember that being such a big defining part, and it made the Rainbow Six franchise cool again.
Yeah, it mainstreamed it in a way that I don't think Ubisoft knew they could.
Yeah.
But then they did Rainbow Six Vegas, Vegas 2, and Vegas 2 is very similar. It's almost like an expansion.
Yeah. I didn't like Vegas 2 that much.
I liked it, but it was too much of the same.
Well, the storyline was so predictable. Because Vegas was like, whoa, who planned this? Who did this? And then the second one came out, you're like, oh yeah.
I don't remember much of the story, to be honest.
It's just your typical spoiler alert, but the game's about forever. An ex-Rainbow operator was really mad at an organization,
Sure.
And he just was like, "Let's get some money," and then he just planned it. And at the end, I think it's like the ending battle is really bad. It's like a slow-mo shoot. And at least I'm just going by memory. I have a very big bias about it. I just did not like it. Granted, it was cool.
Well, I liked it. I did not like it as much, and I don't think it had the same mark. It came a little bit too late. I think other games, were on the market, whereas the first Vegas was kind of the first big shooter on the 360.
Yeah.
Other than Call of Duty 2. But the thing that people probably forgot is they didn't go to Siege right away. They went to Rainbow Six Patriot. which was a story-driven, dialogue tree-driven domestic terrorist game. It got canceled.
Okay. That's why I didn't remember it, because it had the most iconic trailer scene.
Yeah, it looked like it was going to be so fucking cool.
Yeah, because I think I'm gonna remind what the trailer was. Then Call of Duty kind of stole it, which is fine. The area of if you remember the trailer, they were at the bridge. I don't remember
the trailer.
Oh, really? So I mean, they're just like doing the terrorist thing, and it kind of ends at the Golden Gate Bridge, I believe,
Sure.
and then the guy has a bomb on him, and they're like, let's defuse it. And it's like, we can't. There's not enough time. And just chuck the guy off the bridge.
Oh, yeah.
And then now, because you played another reboot, Modern Warfare.
Yeah, we'll get into that.
Yeah, they did the same thing in the game, but it was more minor. But it was still like showing how Patriot was going, hey, you know what? We can't save everybody, but we're gonna do the the democracy thing and just save more than you.
Well, and it was in that era where they were trying to make Tom Clancy stuff more cinematic. Like when you look at the Splinter Cell franchise, we won't get into that. We're kind of running out of time. We're gonna have to start moving pretty quick. But so Patriot was revealed, kind of stuck in stasis, and then they did a soft reboot with multiplayer. They went from a story-driven, choose your dialogue adventure to multiplayer only.
To be fair, I think they just were like, you know what, we need a game that's going to compete against Counter-Strike and Valorant was out, or even Rumor
not
back
even close,
then. But like MOBA, like we need a game that's going to be multiplayer and then people can play again.
Well, and I think that even before that, I don't think they had the vision for it being an esport, because I think at the launch of it, it wasn't really designed for better.
Yeah.
I think Siege was way cooler at launch.
Yeah.
It was designed to be like this fucking badass, you're terrorist versus like counter-terrorist.
Yeah.
And you're going to break into this building, you're going to kill everyone, or you're going to rescue that terrorist.
Yeah.
When you watch the first trailers of Siege, I want that game.
Yeah.
If you have not watched the trailers for the original trailers for Siege, that game looks fucking awesome. It's the original house level, but it's like you and your buddies, it's like, okay, tactical phase, and you're like talking and like, okay, we're going to break in this way, break this way. And then you like breach through the wall, you have your shield, and it's like you're killing all the terrorists. It's way cooler. It's way more cinematic.
Yeah.
And they never really lived up to what that was.
Yeah.
Because it was multiplayer only. So 5v5, you can only do so much. It has to be balanced. But now that version of Siege, I dream of.
You know what you should we maybe we'll like challenge someone. Someone make the trailer with today's Siege.
Oh, that'd be hilarious.
But include all the DLC like costume bullshit.
Yeah, oh my god. There's some funny ones.
Yeah.
Like some of those costumes. Like you can be Rick and shit.
Can you be Rick?
Yeah, there's a Rick and Morty costume.
Oh my god.
What else is there? There's a ton.
Oh, but anyways, let's just move on.
Let's move on.
Yeah.
Okay, so I just want to briefly shout out like some of the better remasters. Like there's the Shadow of Colossus one, and that's an interesting one because it's halfway between a remaster and a remake. So it's built from the ground up again for the PS4. Shadow of Colossus on PS2, great game. PS4 one, amazing game. If you haven't played it, highly recommend it.
I feel bad.
Why is that?
I haven't played it.
You should play the PS4 one. The PS4 one's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
But I like that one because it really is exactly the same game, but it's built on PS4 tech.
Here's the reason why. I already know most of the story. I know I'm going to cry. It's just one of those things. It's like I'm treating it like a Wes Anderson movie. Okay. It's like when I need to like feel emotions, I will play that.
Sure.
And that's fine.
Yeah, that soundtrack is a banger. We've already talked about The Last of Us Part 1, which is the remake on PS5.
Yeah.
But shout out to the PS4 remaster. And that's the thing that I'm into is taking games. I mean, I'm not into it being a full price, but I appreciate now that we're in the x86 era of video gaming where consoles are basically PCs, that we're getting these next gen just upgrades. And I'm okay with them being $10, being with $15. Like I bought the Uncharted like special edition on PS5 so I could play Uncharted 4 and Lost Legacy in 4K, whatever. Mm-hmm. And I'm okay with $10 upgrades. I prefer free, like God of War was, or Ghost of Tsushima. But or you do a whole new thing. Like you play Ghost of Tsushima, right?
Oh my god, that game's so good.
I love Ghost of Tsushima.
Yeah.
I didn't like it on PS4, and then on PS5 at 60 frames, it like. Not you, Siri. But yeah, it clicked for me. But then they did the director's cut, and I'm okay with that being a separate charge. But they still gave a PS5 upgrade for free, where it's like it up-resed and performed better.
It's okay. Let's just clear things. So the upgrade, is that a remaster? That's kind of a remaster technically.
It would. I would probably put it in like the remaster thing. It has another area. It has like extra stuff.
Oh, okay.
And it's a slightly different technical performance. But it's pretty comparable to the free upgrade.
Yeah.
I can't remember exactly.
Yeah. And just FYI, if you haven't played Ghost of Tsushima, if you have a PS5, play it. And actually, wait. Oh no, I think I never followed up with you. You finished it, right?
I finished it.
So that last big fight, how it looks.
Oh yeah.
Like, were you playing on a nice TV?
Yeah.
Oh my god, I remember playing that, and I was like, oh my god.
So Ghost of Tsushima, we can't talk about it. But that game is so interesting to me because with the right calibrated TV, it looks fucking amazing in these moments. But then there's also other moments where it looks like kind of bad.
Yeah.
And also you need your TV calibrated right because it's contrasty, and if your TV's already contrasty, it just looks bad.
Oh, okay.
Let's move on. I like the Rare remaster, like the Banjo-Kazooie.
Those are fun.
And I just like that being available on modern stuff.
Yeah.
Crisis Core, I still haven't played the modern Crisis Core.
I think it just came out, though, didn't it?
Yes, I'm going to play it eventually. I'm a big fan of remasters because it allows you to play games better than they were.
Yeah.
Especially if they put in a little bit of work. Like I really enjoy playing God of War 2 and 3 on the PS3.
Yeah.
So it's 1080p 60 or whatever. And then I can play it on an HD CRT. So it feels old, but it looks better, performs better. Big fan.
Here's one thing I'd say. I do want to talk about this more in depth in the future. God of War.
Yes.
Is that a reboot? To me, it feels like a reboot.
2018.
Yeah, the newest continuation of God.
I think the term is like a soft reboot where it is a sequel.
Yeah.
Because it's same universe, same characters, whatever, hundreds of years later. But really, it is a reboot because it totally reinvents.
It feels different from if you play the first God of War to this God of War, completely different.
Yeah. Well, and like that's when I was saying good reboots, it takes like the feature set and modernize it. That's another one where it totally reimagines what that game is. Like, there's combat, but the combat's entirely different. You know, it's not about managing these big groups. It's about these heavy hits and timing your attack so that you're not like overwhelmed. And it's much more Dark Souls-y. Yeah. What I like about that one is it's really fun to play on the hardest difficulty because you have to be careful.
You feel rewarded for doing it. I have one more point I'm gonna end, but let's run whatever else you have.
Shout out in the worst way to Mario Kart 8. And all of the Switch fucking upgrades where it's just the same game. Yeah. It's nice because it's available to a new audience and they perform slightly better, but they need to release more games.
Well, here's one thing I will have to say. Fuck you, Nintendo, because you make amazing games, but when you re-release them for like the price points you're doing, that is just like the straight up problem. Yeah, that's a really shit. Like,
and everyone's doing it, which makes me mad. But
it just makes me like want to play emulator games more. Yes. Like, give me this Zen-ness and everything. I'm not admitting anything, but like, it's really bad.
100%. Yeah. I think for me, a big thing that comes down to, especially with remasters, is putting more than the bare fucking minimum. Yeah. Like, let's talk briefly about like the Final Fantasy, the various amounts of remakes and remasters there are. I think on the best sides, there's like the Final Fantasy X HD remake. It looks better. It plays better. It's good. They have some quality of life stuff. But then there's the remakes, like the PSP ones for 1 and 2, where it's like they redid the art and they did that. That's fine. Yeah. There's ones I don't like as much, like the chibi DS ones. Like I think they did 3 or 4 on DS.
I played 4 on the which one's the opening scene that you're on a ship?
That's 4. I believe.
That's 4. Yeah. I played Cecile. Yeah. I played no. Well, maybe.
Yeah, Cecile is 4.
Yeah. So anyways, like I'm already just playing. I was just like, man, I got bored. Because the problem is that just replicating the look of the game and then making it 3D. But the problem is that 3D is so hard to render. Yeah. Everything feels so bad. It feels everything's like floaty and it's like come on.
Well, and it lost the spirit of it. I think the PSP versions of 1 and 2 carried the spirit and the look a little bit more. Those games aren't very good.
Yeah.
Like Final Fantasy 3 and 4 are better games.
Yeah.
But I think they did a better job. I think the Hall of Shame the most is the remasters, like Chrono Cross and 9, where they just like AI, like they do a bilinear filter on the backgrounds and they just up-res them without doing any real work, or they AI upscale them and it looks like absolute garbage. And then they render the characters, at 1080p or whatever. So they're so sharp on this muddy ass fucking background. And it looks like utter garbage.
I think one remake I would add to that too. Sorry, is Chrono Trigger on the PlayStation.
Yes,
was holy shit. Like they basically enough just ported the game from Super Nintendo to the PlayStation. Made there wasn't that many load times, but like essentially they added load time.
Yeah, because it's a fucking CD.
Yeah.
But I don't get it, because how big is the fucking cartridge? Like 32 megabytes?
It's nothing.
Like, bro, that's like a line on your CD.
Yeah, but here's the thing. The reason why they did it is because they had to put fucking like anime cutscenes. And I've watched all of them. I'm like, this adds nothing. Like, I'm like, I still would rather just watch Frog cut the fucking mountain as a 16-bit character than watching this stupid cutscene
presented in 240p anyway. Like it still looks like shit.
And so I'm just like, no. Like if you guys are gonna make a remake like that, fuck you.
Well, and it's such a shame because I know when I'm a lot of what I do on my Vita or something is playing older RPGs. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, what's the best version of Chrono Trigger to play? Yeah. And it's still the Super Nintendo version. Like, you can play the PS1 version, but it has load times way more often than should. They're short, but like, you constantly go to black and you're just fucking waiting. And you're like, actually, no, super annoying.
There is it's not really a remake. It feels more of a port
on the DS. So that's one of the more debated versions. Yeah. So people like it because, it has like the cutscenes. It has like the best graphics.
No, it doesn't have. I think
it has some cutscenes.
No, mine did. My least. Well, I mean, I did. Yeah. But anyways, I'm gonna say this. Knock on wood. The version I played had everything was original. It was just like you're just playing on the DS.
Yeah, and I think they did a good job splitting the menus so that you're like separate. There's an extra like endless dungeon mode that people don't.
Oh, I don't remember that at all.
But yeah, I think the DS version is actually quite rare. They're all the versions are decently rare. The PS1 version is worth not as much as you would think. It comes in like the Final Fantasy Chronicles or Anthology. I think Chronicles. Yeah, where it's that and Final Fantasy 6 for the PS1, which is nice. It's nice having all these. You can basically play all of the Final Fantasies on a PS1 up till 9. Yeah. But these loading screens, having the kind of crappy, half-hearted anime stuff.
I just don't understand. Yeah. But anyways,
but I want to talk about just what I actually want out of a fucking Chrono Trigger remaster.
Oh, yeah.
Just give me HD 2D, man. Yeah. Make it look like Octopath Traveler with color. That's all I want. That's all anyone fucking wants. Just give us that.
Like, to me, I think people are putting too much emphasis on like you need to make it like so amazing. They forget that the human brain can kind of take what you're putting out and kind of like give me a story and like the actions. Like I still vividly remember watching some of the stuff in Chrono Trigger, and I rewatch it again. I'm still remembering like moments of like, like Chrono and Luca on the bridge fighting the dragon tank. And when you actually look at it, if you go on YouTube and just go look that up, it just looks really bad. But my brain just like imagines something so much more visceral.
Well, I think there's a thing that happened, and I think most people agree that JRPGs, peaked in the Super Nintendo PS1 era. I think that's like when they were at their best relative to other games. And I think that JRPG stories really lend themselves to abstraction, where you have to fill in a lot of the spots, like the visuals of the game. Like even Final Fantasy 7, like it's kind of abstract because the graphics are so limited. Yeah. Same with like Chrono Trigger. It's like you have to imagine a lot of it and fill in the gaps. And I think that type of story works really well for that. And when you start to fill in the gaps for the audience, you're not doing them a favor. You're just kind of making it worse.
Yeah, because like one thing too is that there's not a knock on Japanese culture. It's just like how they do things is so like spoon fed for you, but that spoon feeding of content does not translate well to North Americans. Yeah. Like if you watch like a Japanese movie, sometimes it's weird because it's like it just jumps from point to point. But that's how they're used to getting their storylines.
Yeah.
And if you do that to North Americans, like I am, like I just go, what just happened? Like you were just there and now you're here. Like I can't remember exactly what the movie. I just remember it. It just like I'm like, what the hell? Just like no, go back, go back.
Yeah, I find it's so interesting breaking down how Japanese media and North American media presents information.
Yeah.
We don't got time for that.
Yeah.
I got time to shit on Crisis 1, 2, and 3. You suck, remaster. Dead Rising on Wii. You suck.
Yeah.
Half-Life 1 Source. You fucking suck so bad.
Well, which one? Wait,
the Half-Life 1 Source. So it's like they just
yeah.
ported it to the Source engine. They did nothing else. It's just broken as fuck.
I showed up me playing Half-Life 1 Source and I didn't really knew what happened.
Yeah.
And then I posted, I remember on Short Circuit Twitter going, playing games, haha, and everyone just shat on me. I'm like, what? What just happened?
Yeah, you gotta play Black. If you guys don't know, play Black Mesa. That's originally a fan-made remake of Half-Life 1.
Yeah.
Made in the Source engine, and it plays really well. It looks good. They take a couple liberties that I don't love, but that is definitely the best way to first experience Black Mesa. The Silent Hill HD remaster is indicative of the lowest effort remaster that fucks everything up. So the best version of Silent Hill is still the PS2 versions because the technology for the fog is based on specific stuff.
Was it PS2?
Yeah, the PS2 ones are the best.
Oh yeah.
For 2, 3, and 4.
Oh, okay. I'm still thinking
one is PS1.
Yeah.
And they haven't done an HD remaster of that.
Yeah.
Which is a little bit. It's not surprising because PS1 stuff you can't just remaster. You have to remake.
Maybe if Resident Evil 2 remake is successful. Oh no.
Silent Hill 2.
No. Is Silent Hill 2?
Silent Hill 2 is getting a remake.
Oh, okay.
So if that one's successful, I could see them going forward or back.
Yeah.
I have a bad feeling that's going to be a bad remake. But that's a thing. But yeah, so basically the Silent Hill HD remake, what they did was they took I think it's the Xbox version or the PC version that they didn't actually put the effort in to make the fog tech as good as the PS2 version.
Did they just they just an AI machine and just do it?
It wasn't even an AI machine. At that time, AI wasn't a hot topic. They just found the PC version, up-resed it, and the fog looks so fucking bad. Everything looks so bad.
Does it look like pixelated fog machines?
I can't remember exactly how it is. It's just dense, but not transparent properly.
Oh no!
And that's the worst. Is when they find a version that's easier to up-res.
Yeah.
And they up-res it, but it's not a good version. They did the same with Tales of Symphonia, which is unfortunately they've re-released that on different consoles. They've up-resed it. They've remastered it. It's coming out again. But the only version that has 60 hertz is the GameCube version. And they don't fucking remaster that version. They remaster the PS2 version, which is locked at 30 fucking frames.
What?
And it's an action RPG. What the fuck are you doing?
30 frames with action RPG?
And so they have the PS3 remaster that's what they're working with.
Yeah.
It's locked at 30 frames. And it's like, no. And I'm so frustrated with those low effort HD remasters that are just hey, we have a version we can up-res. We up-res it.
I'm actually looking at a photo right now. It looks so bad.
Of which?
Of remaster version versus the PS3 version.
Oh yeah.
But anyways, I like Tales games. Maybe I should give that a try.
Tales is funny as fucking great game. Unfortunately, the only way to play it that feels good is still a GameCube.
Yeah.
I want to shit a little bit on Parappa and the Patapon remasters they have on PS4. They both are rhythm games and they have insane amounts of input lag.
Actually, just same thing. I love Patapon.
Love Patapon.
Yeah, I have the original PSP.
Nice.
But I know there is a screen delay when I play it because I know for a fact that my reflexes aren't that dull.
Yeah.
And it's just
it's impossible to play.
Yeah, and those some missions in Patapon, you have to be perfect.
Yeah.
And it's just
are you talking the PSP version has a delay or the PS4 version?
PSP.
Yeah. It's still not perfect.
Yeah, so fuck. I wish.
I want to shit on the Mario 3D All-Stars because it wasn't a terrible version, but it was lazy as fuck.
I've never
30 frames on Sunshine and Mario 64. Whereas PC versions have unlocked it and figured out other things. So it's just the absolute laziest. And then also having it be a time limited thing. Fuck you, Nintendo.
And it also is probably going to be $80 or $60 or something.
It was full price game.
Oh.
Shout out to what opposite side of Nintendo, what they've done mostly with the Metroid remasters. Because Metroid was remade on the Game Boy on Metroid or Game Boy Advance Zero Mission. Great game. Metroid 2 was redone as Samus Returns on the 3DS. both fucking great remakes or reboots. Remakes.
You know what's funny? Okay, I think we have to do an episode on Nintendo, and I have to force myself to play some Nintendo games because.
Oh wow, you don't play them?
I never got a GameCube.
I have a couple.
I've never had an N64, and I bought a Nintendo Wii, but I only played Wii Sports because that was a fire game. And then I have a Switch, and I played Legend of Zelda.
Breath of the Wild. And you like Breath of the Wild, right?
Yeah, I like the game. So I mean, I really weirdly now thinking about it, my Nintendo repertoire is barely anything.
I'm not a huge Nintendo guy because I generally like games that have story as an important element, and that's just not something Nintendo does. And that's fine. They're masters of mechanics, and they do, master classes and giving you like level specific mechanics or world specific mechanics that they evolve and change and grow.
I think you're not the same way. Like I need a storyline. Granted, I found you didn't find it for Breath of the Wild. I found it Breath of the Wild. But maybe we'll talk about it.
That'd be pretty fun to have you like play through a bunch of Nintendo games because there's some fucking bangers, man. Metroid Dread was pretty good, but it's not great.
If you're listening, at me on Jono Tan 86 and just give me a list of like games to play.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I think it'd be fun to do that. But kind of speaking on those terms, I don't know who's still listening to this. We've gone too long.
That's fine.
But we have our Patreon, and big thing that our Patreon is going to be covering is we're not taking money out of it. It's going to cover expenses. So we want to cover games. Like I would have loved to play Dead Space, but I can't justify it. I'm on a budget. I'm trying to not just buy games willy-nilly.
Oh, I have an EA contact.
You have the EA Pro one?
No, I have an EA contact. Let me talk.
No, but anyways, I'm making a heartfelt pitch for our Patreon.
Sorry.
Well, but think like for movies and stuff. Yes, the goal is that this content reaches enough people that we can reach out to brands and marketing agencies and stuff and get stuff for free. But the current state of that is not. We're going to pay out of our own pocket for Ant-Man. We're going to have to talk after this, buy our tickets.
Oh yeah.
And like, it's not the end of the world. Like it's, $20 each or whatever. I'm going to pay for my
here's like some things, like some of the big plans that I would like to do. Mm-hmm. Like this is like 2-3 year plans. Yeah. You're going to go to Japan. I want to go back to Japan. Mm-hmm. If we get enough like patrons and people to fund us and we still keep doing this, which I do plan to do this because I love doing this every time, is I would love to go to Japan, show you Japan from my eyes and then Japan from your eyes. Yeah. And then we can just like record a podcast. And also, if anyone knows Connor, Garnt, and Joey from the Trash Taste podcast, I would love to talk to those guys because those guys are hilarious.
One day. Well, once we have a full body of work.
Yeah. But I mean, the Patreon people, I would have to give some shout out, like especially these three people. Oh my God, I'm going to butcher this name. Guillermo Navarro. He was our very first Patreon.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. We got Mike 1814. And
love you, Mike. Miss you, buddy.
Dude, thank you so much. And then we have Matthew Nonen, who gave us a huge...
Noonan, I think, isn't it?
Noonan?
I think it's 2 O's, right?
Yeah. Is it Noonan?
So I always see you on Twitter, dude, but I never really said your name out loud.
Yeah. He gave us a huge pledge. And also he's sending a hot sauce. So when we get those hot sauces, we'll get some wings.
Yep. Send us all kinds of stuff.
But yeah, no, thank you guys for, just join it. Just go to patreon.com/let's wing it, LETSWINGIT.
Yes.
And right now we have some early access on why we made the podcast.
Yes.
Granted, we keep running the topics are really topical. So I don't know when that podcast that we have on there is going to come out.
Yeah. So it's really early.
Yeah. Access. So we're going to rework the release schedule a little bit because I want to make sure that some content.
Yeah, and we want to get a buffer too because I'm going away and I'm gonna have to edit this on the plane, which is not a big deal. Yeah. But I don't know if my laptop's gonna hold up. We'll figure it out.
And also for me, I'm gonna be moving to New Jersey, so that's like a 1 week I have to go travel.
At least 1 week where you're just it's gonna be many weeks where you're not gonna want to do it.
Yeah. So I mean,
build up a buffer.
Actually, I don't know. Maybe I'll do it on the road. I don't know. But anyways, so those things that we want to do. And honestly, like we're not taking a paycheck out of this unless Spotify just goes, Jono, exclusive, baby.
Well, yeah, like you said, a big thing, we're not taking the money for ourselves. It's going to go into like producing the content. Yeah. Because right now everything's either provided or paid out of pocket.
Yeah.
But also, like we we would love to go to premieres of movies, but they're not often here.
Yeah.
So
I think it's like
organizing
New Jersey.
travel, New Jersey or LA or stuff.
Yeah.
And so like we would get invites on there, just movies and stuff, but we just couldn't. And so
Really? You guys got invites?
we got invites to go to LA sometimes. But it's just that wasn't part of
So
part of the strategy.
thank you guys for the Patreon.
Thank you so much.
And then also, if those brands listening, hit me up. Hit your boy up at
your
let's
boy.
wing it 22@gmail.com.
And send cash to my front door. So I have like kind of 3 quick discussion points. I'm gonna trim it down to 2. One is basically just like, hey, Generation 7 is the best remaster space because that's PS3, Xbox 360.
Okay.
There's so many games that are great and just need a little bit of uplift to be playable today. Developers, that's where you want to look. Look at Generation 7. If you're doing reboots, I think what's the latest that you are okay with, like a remake, like a full remake? So like games from 2005 for a full remake, or like earlier, like
earlier. I think to me, other than Metal Gear and like Wolfenstein, like my favorite top ones, if you had to put a gun in my head going, if you're gonna play a reboot or remake right now, what game? I would say XCOM.
Yeah, that's fair. I forget that that's a reboot.
Yeah. So like that one is like
so good.
It's like it's still tactical shooter. It's permadeath, but it's like it's updated, so it just looks good. It's still a pain in the ass. It's still a pain in the ass at 95% accuracy rate, and you still fucking miss.
Oh my god, you're like 2 feet away from them, like one block. And you're like, how did you fucking miss with that shotgun?
Like, Billy, I gave you everything. But I think the gun in my head, that's just the best. It's like it just has the XCOM feel.
Yeah.
Storyline is way better because just the modern technology of it, and it just it like you said plays really well.
Well, I think reboots are tough. I think remakes. I feel like I'm excited for the Resident Evil 4 remake, but I feel like anything after that, it's harder. Like Dead Space again seems to be a good remake.
Yeah.
But I don't feel like it needed a remake. So it's not like a super exciting one to me. Like you can run reshade on the original Dead Space and make it look pretty modern.
That's for me. It's like if I'm gonna pay money to replay a game that I already have and I'm okay with the graphics, you better put some shit in.
Yeah. Well, I feel like Dead Space is a big enough one. Clearly, it's got good reception.
Yeah.
I haven't played it, but I am pissed off with Sony and their remake business. Like Last of Us didn't need a remake, and it does not. It does not need a Horizon Zero Dawn remake.
There's a remake for that?
They're working on a remake.
Why?
It's so fucking stupid.
Yeah.
It's way too soon. That game still plays fine.
So,
and like there's Forbidden West that exists. Like, don't do that.
So,
don't.
So I think to me, it's like, that's why I get mad about, that's why maybe the reason why I don't play remakes.
Yeah.
I play reboots because like there's a lot of things in them. It's just the fact that it's like, to me from the business side, I'm like, money grab.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah.
And they know that like a Horizon game will sell, but it's so fucking frustrating. I don't want that. I want new games. I want, like, that's what was so exciting about Horizon Zero Dawn was that it was a new IP from a team that had kind of made these mid shooters for so long. Like, I liked the Killzone franchise. It was pretty cool how good it looked on the PS3, but like,
I don't
fucking care.
Yeah.
Like, and they don't play well anymore.
Yeah.
But Horizon Zero Dawn plays just fine.
Yeah.
It looks good. It's
shout out to Ashley Burge. Like, she's like my favorite voice actress or just actress in general.
Yeah, she's awesome.
And she's like my favorite.
I remember when like, what was that? What's Up, Ash or whatever?
Hey Ash, what you doing?
Hey Ash, what you doing? Yeah. I enjoyed that.
Yeah, those are great. But anyways, let's close this out.
Well, I have one question for you.
Yeah.
And this is, we're going to put on our tinfoil hats. How much of a factor in the next generation is having a new architecture going to be? Do you think that Sony, Microsoft, and Nintendo... Okay, let me preface this.
Yeah.
I think that the smartest thing that the Nintendo did was make the Switch an ARM-based thing.
Yeah.
It's, low-powered. It's strong enough to be a home console, and it's efficient enough to be a handheld thing.
Yeah.
And because it's a Switch thing, because their architecture is different, they get to sell you the games all over again.
Yeah.
So they get to make all the money, and Nintendo's kind of notorious for doing that.
Yeah.
Repackaging the game, up-resing it a tiny bit, charging full price, and they never go on sale.
Yeah.
Do you think, and like, honestly, because it's like a different physical medium, I'm like, I have to buy a new Switch game. It's fine.
Yeah.
But on the, the higher end side, Xbox is backwards compatible all the way to the original one.
Yeah.
But it's fully 100% compatibility with Xbox One. Same with PS5 is 100% compatible with PS4 because it's the same architecture, just juiced up.
Yeah.
But do you think that Xbox and Xbox and Sony are trying to figure out a way to justify switching architecture so they can resell you games again? Because right now they can't resell you. I already have 400 fucking PS4 games I can play on my PS5.
Yeah.
And so that's question one. Do you think that they're contemplating that?
Yeah.
And do you think that the reason why the Switch is having such a hard time having a pro version or a sequel is that they want to figure out how they can justify selling you their digital games again?
Yeah. So, yeah, no, I can speak to the business sense. It's definitely something they're talking about. And as much as like the tech, like I'm not like my tech is very rusty.
Sure.
Like just being like around Linus and those guys, I can kind of understand and know by osmosis, and I can just ask Anthony. I'm like, Anthony, what's this? But no, they're definitely thinking about it because honestly, like I think they're at even PCs right now, they're kind of looking at how to get out of the architecture because I think because right now like Xbox, fun fact, Xbox and Sony's are run by AMD.
Both a CPU and GPU.
CPU.
They're basically just PCs.
They're AGPUs. Yeah. So I mean, I think at their technical architecture, I think it's so limited now. And I think even now with PCs, they'll still trying to look how to get away because nanoprocessors are just, microprocessors are getting so compact of like, how do we, like Moore's law is kind of, it's been dead. Yeah. So how do we get more power on something as small or smaller that's even more efficient and everything? And that requires a whole new platform itself.
Yeah.
So I think maybe not by the PS6, but maybe the PS7, they're probably going to be making new architecture. I don't think next Xbox. I don't even think Xbox.
I feel like Xbox has enjoyed being, the player positive, backwards compatible one, and like it's not 100% backwards compatibility on the original or the 360, but like it's still like, hey, Xbox is backwards compatible all the way back.
Yeah, but also even the argument's sake too, maybe they won't too, and they will just make everything cloud-based.
Yes, I could see that.
If they go cloud-based, then you don't have to worry about architectures and backwards compatibility because they go, oh, this person wants to play a PS new generation, this new architecture, switch it to this cloud. And this guy wants to play a PlayStation Classic PS1 game, switch to this server. Like that's what they can do. I have a feeling that is probably the play.
Yeah.
Because also seeing all the latest tech coming out, everything's cloud-based now.
Yeah.
Like 5G cloud-based gaming, guys.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Here's my hot take, and I'll do it briefly. I think you're right. Microsoft is not going to switch. I think they're going to do PC as close as possible. They're not going to have enough market lead that they can shake up the game too much.
Yeah.
I think Nintendo is going to do a brand new console. It won't be backwards compatible. People are going to be fucking pissed.
100%.
And they're going to be like, no, sorry, that's a totally different thing.
Here's the thing when Nintendo can get away with this. What pisses me off is that they can go, fuck you guys. And then people go, boo. And then it lasts for like a week.
And then Pokemon sells more than ever before.
Yeah. So it's like the same thing of the problem of like, this is a weird tangent. The World Cup in Qatar.
Yeah.
It's like everyone's like, boo Qatar. And then Messi just wins for Argentina.
I love World Cup.
Yeah, World Cup. It's like,
100%.
You guys remember?
I know. Every single person who's like, I'm so mad that Pokemon is just a lazy franchise now.
Yeah.
I'm still buying both copies.
It's like, fuck.
You're a part of the problem. Stop it. Stop it. I know, right. Nintendo can fucking do that. Because, hey, maybe Switch 2 doesn't sell 120, 130 million like the Switch will.
Yeah.
But like, hey, they can't, it doesn't matter if they sell all that hardware at a slight profit. They need to sell software. And if we already have these big digital libraries that they can slowly grow, like that's not interesting to Nintendo.
Actually, now I just kind of thought of something. Yeah. The reason why Nintendo is so popular is because, people our age and older have been playing these Nintendo franchises. And this is the reason why they haven't switched, is because the adults now are having kids. And even those kids are having kids now too. Yeah. And they can go, oh, it's a Mario. Like they have a generation connection. Going, oh, my grandkids or my kids are playing these like Nintendo characters that I can relate to them, and they can have this like 2 to 3 generation discussion.
I totally agree, and I think that's a big part. Is that like, hey, I liked Zelda when I was a kid. I'll show my kids Zelda.
Yeah,
but I also think gaming on a Switch and knowing what to buy on a Switch is so simple. You're like, what does Nintendo make? I will buy it.
Yeah.
Like, I bought a Switch. What should I get?
Yeah.
I'll get a Mario. I'll get a Zelda. Mario Kart. Smash Bros.
Yeah,
And like, you know what to buy. No matter what Nintendo console.
Yeah.
Those are good games to fucking buy.
So just like let's just said, like as many times I said, Nintendo is the Apple of gaming.
100%. It's very clean and simple. But then here's my hot take.
Yeah.
Is Sony is very much on the back foot right now. The PS5 selling fine.
Yeah.
They're not worried in the sense of like, oh God, we're fucked if we don't reimagine our business.
Yeah.
But they know that the future is not what they have been doing. They know that selling $500 consoles and selling $90 games, that's not the future of gaming.
Yeah.
Microsoft is going to slowly eat their lunch. Xbox had a bad 2022, but I think, on PC and 2023, they're going to grow.
Bad 2022.
It was a downturn for them.
Okay.
But it's because they didn't have any fucking games. But the games are starting to come out, all the studios they've acquired.
Yeah.
But I think that Sony, instead of trying to take Microsoft on, here's my hot take. And it's nice that we're a small enough podcast that it doesn't matter.
It's just going to bite us in the ass in 5 years.
Or I get to pull out this clip and be like, I am a fucking genius. The next piece of gaming hardware that Sony sells won't be a PlayStation. It'll be a gaming piece of hardware, like a console, but it won't be a PlayStation. It'll be some weird offshoot thing that plays games, is a completely different architecture, and it's gonna like either do VR, like the PSVR 2 is coming out this month, but I'm talking about some standalone gaming thing.
Yeah.
That they can sell you games that already exist over again. They're like, we want to maximize what classic game sales can do.
Isn't it kind of like the same thing Nintendo and Sega did with like the mini consoles, the mini classic consoles?
I think it'll be more like if they do a PS2 mini, that I lose because that's still a PlayStation console. I think that Sony is going to try and do something. It might be called a PlayStation, but it'll be a different. Okay, my crazy prediction is it won't be
classic station.
It won't be PlayStation, but I think it's still could be called PlayStation. But it'll be a totally different architecture, and it won't be PS6.
Yeah.
That's really what I'm thinking. Is there's going to be another piece of hardware in between PS5, PS5 Pro, and PS6 that is like them trying something totally different, not handheld. They've tried handheld, that didn't work. But I have a feeling that they're trying to figure out how to disrupt the market and get something that is they're struggling to get.
I think it's like that. I don't even think that's even like a weird and wild take or whatever. It's not going to hurt us. But I think I just go. I believe that, regardless of all the hardware and everything, it's just going to go cloud based. Like, and
it's hard. Maybe I'm too old. I pay for the ultimate PS Plus and I don't ever play the PS3 games because they're cloud based. And I'm like, I don't want to fucking have 70 milliseconds of extra.
I think they're waiting for that moment of just going, everyone goes, yep. Cloud based is now valid because of this, and no one has figured out what is this.
Well, it's tough. I think it's everyone knows that there's a future there, but it's just not quite there. Like Xbox is right on the edge of it. Stadia was kind of there, but
I think everyone needs fiber or like actually like good solid internet.
And I think
zero latency.
Mobile. Once you can gain like reliably cloud stream on a mobile device without it costing you a ton of money, I think that's it. It's like, why would I need a fucking powerful phone?
So pretty much infrastructure. That's all it is.
I think it is an infrastructure thing.
Yeah.
I also think that it's gonna be a whole generation of humans, not like one generation of tech.
Yeah.
Whole generation of humans before we get rid of our powerful PCs and our consoles at home.
Yeah.
Because I won't. I'll be like, well, like I know that the input lag is worse, and I want to have my PC. I like customizing, doing this.
Yeah.
But
but
I also think they want to sell you the same games again and again and again. And so cloud is a big way to do that, where it's like, oh, you own it, but you don't own this version. But that's also the danger is like, how do Xbox and PlayStation sell you the games you own again?
No, the thing is that I'm going by the cloud-based gaming based on Xbox Game Pass. It's not selling you the game itself. It's selling you the subscription.
I think Sony does not want to do that because they make so much money. Like God of War didn't sell nearly as much as PlayStation or as Pokemon.
Yeah.
But it's still hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars that they get in just a few weeks.
Yeah. I think it's like, and once you have enough catalogs like of games, like when you look at it, PlayStation's catalog it's fairly small in comparison to like Xbox right now. because they own all these major studios, and even on Xbox Game Pass, you can upgrade a little bit to get that EA Pro edition too. So their catalog, when you look at it, at least numerically, not by quality, but it's like you have a lot of games to play.
So here's the thing that you would be surprised.
Yeah.
PS Plus has almost twice as many games as Xbox Game
Really?
Pass. Yeah.
But okay, maybe one thing too is that because of Xbox's relationship with EA is that all those FIFA games, all those NHL games.
Well, the thing that Microsoft does way better is that it curates.
Yeah.
And like, so when you open Game Pass, when you look at the like list, you're like, wow, there's a fuck ton of games I want to play. Whereas when you go on PS Plus, you scroll through and you're like, what the fuck are these games? It's some like shitty PS3 era.
I ran into that problem.
And you're like, what the fuck is this?
I literally ran into that problem the other day. I'm like looking through the list going, oh, that's like, there's something always stopping me to play. It's like, because I'm like, especially when I want to replay a game, I do the same thing I do at TV shows. I run through the whole entire thing in my head. I'm like, do I want to do this again?
Yeah.
Yes or no? Why?
Yeah.
And then it's just a flow chart. And I go, yes, and I install it. But the problem is that install period, I go, no, I don't want to do this.
Yeah. I know. Sometimes I do that too, where I'm like, oh, I'm really excited to play this. And you start playing, and you're like, no,
I'm good. But anyways, yeah.
Let's close this off.
Yeah.
What's the reboot / remake? I know you don't play them, but that you're most interested in hearing more about.
Oh, I just before the podcast I looked at it, and then you also had this on your list notes. The Prince of Persia.
Yeah.
Because I think like the Prince of Persia is that everyone knows about is the PlayStation. No,
PS2 era.
PS2 era.
Okay, so there's the Apple II one.
I played the Apple II one, and then I played the really cool one, the one with the Sands of Time.
Yeah, which is PS2 era GameCube,
which is fucking dope.
It's a perfect game. Yeah, that's the best game of all time.
And then
love that game.
It's like the music, timing, how like it works.
Yeah,
the gameplay, the mechanics. Is
and how they integrate the story into it, where like he's narrating and it's like, oh, you didn't do it right. He's like, oh no, that's not how it happened.
And then even like the sequels are not that great, but when you actually like saw the last game, how it works, you're like, oh my god, it's all connected.
Yeah. That trilogy, looking back, I can appreciate a lot of it. I think Warrior Within, the tone shift, like it didn't just like, wasn't a bummer. It murdered that franchise because Sands of Time was a huge hit. It had like this cultural cachet and a critical darling.
Yeah.
And then they just like threw it away by trying to be edgy.
Yeah.
And the game was fine. The gameplay's better. The combat's better.
Yeah.
But it just was so upsetting to play that it never was able to recover. Even on the Twin Towers, the two thrones. That's what it's called.
Not Twin Towers.
Oops, I'm sorry, my bad. They tried to, kind of go back to the Sands of Time like fantasy feeling, but it was already lost. Like I remember not being interested at all. I was so excited about Warrior Within. Like I remember like I pre-ordered. That was like maybe the first game I pre-ordered with my own money.
Yeah.
I went to the store, picked it up. I remember on the way home just like reading the manual.
No way.
And being like, oh God, I can't play it. And I couldn't install it that night. I had to play it the next day.
Yeah.
And the game starts with a fucking close-up of a girl in a metal thong. And you're like, what the fuck is this? And I was peak, like horny age. It was like, because that's like 2000. I would have been like 12 or 13. Like peak, like pubescent teenager who was like, you think I would love a fucking girl in a metal thong.
But it's just that you weren't expecting it.
And it was just the tone was so wrong and metal starts playing. And like, it's so off.
Yeah. The first one just is so good. But I'm really, I'm gonna do this. I'm not, as much as I just saw that it's coming, I'm not gonna look at anything.
Well, yes. So Ubisoft is Ubisoft.
Yeah, Ubisoft is Ubisoft.
So I think it was 2021 it was announced, and they showed a trailer, and it was absolute shit.
No!
It looked fucking terrible. Ugh. And everyone was like, oh no. And it was just like, minimum quality trailer. It's like Ubisoft Shanghai or I think it was like Indonesia or something. One of their C tier studios that is just a support studio making the game.
Yeah.
But it had such a bad reaction. They're like, okay, actually we're going to go and we're going to figure this out. They delayed it for like a year or two. They gave it to Ubisoft Montreal, which is an A tier studio.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to put quotations on A
tier studio.
Yeah.
But now we haven't seen anything since, and it's been years and years, and like there's no updates, there's no date.
Yeah.
And Ubisoft just went through a bunch of bad times where like a bunch of games got canceled, a bunch of big games got delayed.
Yeah.
I think Sands of Times was part of that, one of the delayed games that's not canceled, but like what the fuck is going on at Ubisoft? And
Yeah.
I'm very worried because Sands of Time could be fucking amazing.
Yeah.
Just like a straight remaster, but like a remake with like a little bit of reimagining.
Yeah,
Could be fucking fantastic.
The only thing is that I don't want it to do the same kind of like cheapo, just like remake, just like, oh, we're going to make it 4K now. It's like, no.
It has to be everything brand new.
Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, that's why I'm excited. What are you excited?
Sense of Time. I very much agree. I'm interested more than I'm excited.
Yeah.
Because Ubisoft is just so shitty.
Yeah.
And who knows? But if they pull it off, I'll be so happy. I'll be almost as excited as I was for the Final Fantasy VII remake.
Mm-hmm. You know what? We've talked about it. I want to talk about it a little bit more about that because I had some time to think about it. But you know what? That's a different thing.
That's a different thing.
We're gonna close this out because I think we were trying to shoot for 110. Was it 140?
150. Yeah. We are gonna wing our way out of here. If you guys like this, please subscribe to our Patreon or just follow us on Twitter.
Yeah.
Send us an email. We already given that information.
I think email letswingit22@gmail.com.
Yes.
patreon.com/letswingit, and Twitter it's Let's Wing It Pod.
I think you're right.
Yeah. Or just follow us, Jono Tan 86, and
Or
then
Chosen David.
Yep. Cool.
All right. Bye. Love you.
Bye-bye.